Hi, I'm Shelby Gilroy, and this is my muddiest point. My first muddiest point goes to the Assure model, which has 6 points, and it was in a previous chapter. The first step involves analyzing your student learners, and there are no specific strategies mentioned of how to do this. So I'm left wondering as to how I'm supposed to analyze my student learners. The second step involves stating your objectives. And what was really confusing about this is the model doesn't really indicate how long these objectives are supposed to be. Are the objectives a few sentences? Are they a few paragraphs to make the lesson plan effective? You really don't know. Also, you don't know how many objectives there are supposed to be. Are there supposed to be 2 to 3? Or more to make a lesson plan effective according to this model. Now, the next thing I noticed was you were supposed to select methods, medias, and materials, and then utilize the media and materials. And both of these are really great steps, but I was thinking you could have just blended them into one step to get the message across. And this is a case where less is more. I didn't really have a problem with the step of requiring learner participation, but the last one where you are supposed to evaluate and revise, it looks like, according to the model, you are just supposed to keep going through the steps over and over again until your lesson seems to be effective. And I was thinking, what if this model isn't working? What is a different model you would pursue if you were going back through the steps, but you weren't getting any better at engaging your students? And my next muddiest point was with objectives. This statement indicates that objectives are supposed to be aligned to applicable standards. And I found this confusing because I'm not sure if I'm supposed to, as a teacher, make the objectives fit into neat little category of NETS, Common Core, content area national standards, state standards, or district standards, or if I'm supposed to have objectives that can meet all these requirements at once. And if I'm supposed to come up with objectives that can meet all these different standards, I think that would be very difficult because I imagine they all have different requirements. And my next muddiest point was with these tests that the chapter attempts to bring up, such as the Myers-Briggs type test or the Stanford-Binet test. The Myers-Briggs test here attempts to measure extroverts, introverts, sensing, intuitive thinking, and so on. And I was just thinking, students probably don't neatly fall into these categories. As for example, you see here, for y'all that don't know, an extrovert is someone who likes to be around lots of people and may just enjoy the company of others a great deal. An introvert may like people, but usually in smaller doses, and they may like to be by themselves. And some students can fall neatly into these categories, but a lot of students don't. They tend to be a mix. And I was wondering how this test measured those students, but we don't know. There's no testing samples given, no graphs, no really visual aids as to how this works. So I would have liked to have been given a little more insight as to how some of these tests were administered and how they seem to in depth show student learning. And that concludes my muddiest point.